Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Peter Barber here, professional bass singer and music producer and musician of other kinds as well. Very special thing today. I've been reached out to by Voces8 and Eric Whitacre and his team to make an analysis video of the original composition for what you probably know as Sleep by Eric Whitacre. Originally, Eric used a poem by Robert Frost. Robert Frost's foundation said you have to wait until this is in the public domain. So here we are 25 years later, returning to the original poetry that Eric used for the music that you've heard in Sleep. And it's an honor that they reached out to me. I'm so thrilled to share this video with you. It's absolutely stunning. I get very emotional. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you'll learn something, and I will see you afterwards. Enjoy. They sound unbelievable. Guys, by the way, just chamber choral music is among my favorite genres. I genuinely don't think there's a more beautiful sound than an ensemble about of this size, 12, 15, 20 people just blending perfectly. There is something that connects so deeply to us as humans, hearing humans do this, right? It's spectacular. Let's go back. I'm gonna wind that back, and I'll. There's a whole video that Eric has recorded. I'll actually leave that up here about the origins of this piece, but I'll talk a little bit about it as well as I go through. So just a couple of things to notice. Dynamically, we have, obviously they're not getting loud or super forte anywhere in here, but there is a fuller sound towards the middle of this section, and then it pulls way back at the very end, and it pulls way back while it also decreases in tempo. So it gets much slower and much quieter, coming to this beautiful resolution here. Fantastic. I can't do my normal 5 seconds back on YouTube because I have the actual file for this one. Shout out to Voces8 and Eric Whitacre. Look at the mouth shapes, all the same. You can tell how much work not only they've put into, the technique with their approach, the vocal colors, the blending, and part of that, which is what I was just going to mention, is the diction. They're all operating in the same exact, all the vowels are the same. The timing is absolutely perfect with the words. This is one of the best, you could probably argue the best chamber choir in the world. And it's actually fewer people. As I said, 12, 15, 20 was more what I was used to when I was in chamber choir in undergrad. But if you have a strong enough ensemble and strong enough singers, you can do it with even fewer people, like there is in this group. Voces8. 8. Nice. Okay, one more time. Text really does make a difference if you know the not the original. This is actually the original, but I think we got down to a low E flat. Well, that's fun. Let's not do that. We're just gonna drag it. beautiful low E flat from our basses. Once again, notice the impeccable diction. I just noticed it on, I think it was a V in the text. Oh, Village. Yes, Village. Listen to this beautiful V in Village. I'm such a nerd. Like same timing and everything. They're just totally lined up. And again, ending that phrase, both decreasing in volume and decreasing in tempo. Ah, Eric. Ah, the dissonance he uses is incredible. He is my favorite choral composer. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with him for the podcast. I'll include that episode here as well. God, his use of dissonance is just incredible. I don't get emotional on camera very often. Thank you, Eric, for that. We're gonna listen to that again. I think it's F and E, maybe up here. I think that's the crunch we get. Really just amazing. And when I have composed some choral music myself, and I have a ton of choral parts in this big original piece that I've written about Achilles and the Trojan War. And Eric is my biggest inspiration when I write those parts, because I just think, I mean, if you listen through that, if you actually went back through that section and broke it down with the sheet music, I would say there are more chords in there with some kind of dissonance or some kind of added harmony than there are kind of standard triads. Now, normally you might throw a dissonant note in there once in a while to kind of spice things up, but Eric very just consistently has dissonance in his chords. But it's used in such a way where you still feel the kind of more standard chord progression, but you get all this extra color. It's really just perfect. It's so good. There's another one. They're just perfectly in tune. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. And also, folks, I don't think anyone's going to accuse something coming out of this genre for being like heavily auto-tuned and all the rest of it. But I mean, this is live singing. This is absolutely stunning. Just a stunning blend in this beautiful acoustic space. Now, if you sing in this kind of setting, you can't just tune one person's voice up or down, because there's enough bleed from the other voices where you would also tune them up or down, and if they're already in tune, then that gets everything out of whack. As far as I know, this is actually the setting where they recorded it. It's maybe this isn't the actual take with the video shooting. You can totally, because of how consistent their performance is. Actually, you know what? I don't know, because with someone like Eric and the way he speaks about how he approaches music, it's a living, breathing thing. And so maybe there are tempi that shift one performance to the next, or cadences that linger one performance to the next. So it's possible because they have different angles and stuff where they could have recorded in this environment and then shot a number of video takes and then cut them together. I actually don't know the story there. I haven't talked to the producers about it. But the point is, live sound, this is actually their blend. This is actually the sound that they're creating as a group. There's of course some editing on the back end, just to account for maybe anomalies in the acoustic space, whether that's typically that would be a frequency pocket. If there's like some part of the room that just gathers a certain frequency, you might have an audio engineer turn that down a little bit in post. But it's about as close to a raw sound as you can get without actually being there listening to them. And that's another beautiful thing about this style and really music coming out of the classical world still. Anyway, I digress. See how much we'd call this rubato in classical music, where the tempo really stretches and compresses. You can see Eric really moving people along and then really letting it slow down into that cadence. So there's a lot of stretch and compression, and this is often not something you might see on the sheet music. It might just be, it might have rubato written in, or it might have diminuendo, or it might have accelerando, right? But it's typically not a super specific marking. It's typically not like, okay, now you're going to go from 80 BPM to precisely 95 BPM. It's like that is part of what makes it a living, breathing thing. I don't think that's in there, is it? There's an opportunity for a low C, but Eric typically writes in a way that's very performable for most choirs. I think in addition to the incredible composition, that is part of what has aided in his work being so prolific in the choir community, is typically, I've never seen a piece of his go below a C sharp. So there's an opportunity here for a low C, which I just added, but I don't think it's actually written. If it is, it's very subtle. And one other thing I wanted to point out, the sections of this piece, Eric's written them in a way where they feel similar. The way the motion and the way the text is delivered, the text also changes that. It's like you can sing something the same way with different text, and it changes it. But he's adding these wonderful nuances here that do create this lovely variety, phrase to phrase, section to section, even though we do kind of get this ba be da dee da be ba ba. I'm making up notes, but that kind of like grow faster, slower, quieter. And it not only gives the whole structure more structure, but it gives it gives variety between phrase as well. Like there's these little structures within the bigger structures within like the biggest structure, which is great. And a lot of that comes from actual live performance, working in the space, figuring out what you can do with the voices you have. That all goes into being a conductor. Yes, we're going to check and see if there's a low C. I don't think there is. If there is, it's extremely quiet. E. There's not. My bassy ears can imagine it being there, but I don't believe there is. I don't have the sheet music on hand. Now, notice that I was saying there were a lot of similar sounding phrases with enough variety, and then we go into this section, which is a total departure. No bass whatsoever. Just tenor and soprano. Are the altos even singing? They probably are. And I don't know who sings what exactly. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with members of this group, although I should at least get one of the basses on the podcast. So leave a comment below for that. Yeah, we get this incredible ethereal section where it's just all treble voice, no bass whatsoever. And I love the ba, 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 dee, dee, da. They're like coming in at various points, and then we get this kind of sweeping, overarching melody from the sopranos. Bass is back. Yes, altos. Oh, and it just lingers and lingers and lingers. Oh man, this group is just outstanding. And the voices are just so pure. Because there's so few of them. I mean, you hear the individual voices very clearly. That's not always the case in a big choir. That's why it's easier to get away with a lot of things in a big choir. Because you can, I mean, if you have a choir of like 100 people, you can have 10 people singing terribly, and it'll probably still sound pretty darn good if you're doing like a big epic choir stuff. If you have 8 people in a choir, if anyone's off, it's like, whoa, yikes, you know? They all sound perfect, and the tone quality is just so pure. It's unbelievable. Just like it's like really efficient vocal fold closure, but without all the extra kind of power and resonance. If they really leaned into that, so it's like this quiet purity to the sound, and it's just it's magical. Wait. So I believe, is that just up to an E flat 5? So nowhere near the top of these range, but it just sounds this like with this wonderful like elven choir. Yeah, so E flat. Wait. That one. E flat 5. Just lingers. I have to wait before it gets big. So we hear woods again for the first time since the first section, and I like this bass line we get. As opposed to the first section, with a similar musical motif, everyone was moving together. but this time we have a little more variety in what each part is doing. Sustain. Here it comes. Like, what can you even say? It's perfect. And in addition to that, like, that's a perfect example of that. They get to absolute maximum dynamic range. Everyone is really, they are actually leaning into volume at this point. Still absolutely pure. There's no vibrato. It's always about blend optimization, and no voice group is trying to outpower the other one. You see them all looking around and like really carefully listening to the blend. And then it comes back to like this absolutely pianissimo here at the end with a leading tone in the bass, I believe. You know how I pointed out that that crunch earlier? We get one of those in the bass note, which is unusual. So we get a D3 in the bass. It's not super low, but that is the lowest point in the chord. We're gonna run that back. It just built. I've heard Sleep so many times. Okay, quick tangent about the history of the piece. Really quick. Eric originally wrote this piece, this one, the one you're listening to, in I believe 1999. It was commissioned from a couple or a woman to write about his or her parents. Can't remember who commissioned it exactly. One of their sets of parents who had passed away, and this was in Texas. And he wrote it, and then I believe after it was performed for the first time, maybe they were contacted by the Robert Frost Institute, whoever holds his copyrights, and said, "You can't do this. You have to wait till it goes to public domain." So he hired another colleague of his, Tony, a guy named Tony, to write the poetry that you heard for Sleep, which is what ended up on the album, and that's what has been being performed for the last 25 years. And so this project is going back to the original and recording that original version that Eric wrote with Robert Frost's poetry with this wonderful ensemble. So that's the group. And I don't really remember why I started talking about that, but yeah, let's let it rip. Oh, I was saying I've heard Sleep so many times, yet still he has this way of building such anticipation for this massive crunchy chord that finally comes. And if you've heard Sleep before, you're waiting for that chord because it's like the proper climax of the piece. And even having heard it so many times over the years, I still found myself like anticipating it sooner than it was actually coming. Awesome. Up to high F. Appreciate how pure that this man goes to that ouvelle. Look at that. He goes. Now it's more of a A jaw protruded ooh, lengthening the vocal tract a little bit. It's interesting. You can tell that typically means that you are lengthening the vocal tract to add some darkness, but you can tell he's like thinking about singing it right here. So it maintains a buzz in the sound while still trying to lengthen the vocal tract for a little extra warmth. A little chiaroscuro technique. High G's. Still not yet. Okay, can we appreciate specifically our soprano one here on the far left who sustains this high A flat 5 forever and then carries it all the way down. This is what I'm talking about with efficiency of voice and vocal fold closure, because if you have an efficient tone, barely any air is getting out. And so she's singing this glorious high note, and you'd think she'd be using all this air. It's kind of counterintuitive. She's using almost no air whatsoever. That's why she's able to sustain it for so long. I wonder how long exactly. Breath. Okay, 334. Still sustaining. There it is. Okay. About 20 seconds. 334 to 354. About 20 seconds sustaining that note, carrying it all the way up to that high A flat, holding it, and then coming back down. That's efficiency, folks. Leading tone in the bass. Now, I believe the intention here was Eric didn't want to change the music, like at all. So there might be a few minor changes, but basically he wanted a poem written by Tony that would perfectly fit the music he had already written for the Robert Frost poetry. And so I think both poems end talking about sleep. I think Tony's is, actually I've got it pulled up. Tony's is I surrender to sleep. And Robert Frost is and miles to go before I sleep. Here's Tony's. And as I surrender unto sleep, right? And so I think this final section ends up more similar, both text and music wise, compared to the rest of the piece, because we have sleep as the common denominator. The carryover. Not a moment of silence. Yeah, I think this is the same. Oh, and it really does feel like you're just drifting off to sleep. There must be some stagger breathing going on over here for this incredibly long sustained for that pitch. You can hold a pitch like that if it's really efficient. You can hold it for almost as long as you can hold your breath with the right training and application. But stagger breathing, that's when if you have a section of people in choir and there's a long sustained note, you have people just breathe in different places. So if you're just listening to that group alone, you'll hear the sound changing some. But in the context of an ensemble, if you're really good at stagger breathing, if you decrescendo on your way out and you crescendo on your way in, so it's a really smooth handoff of the baton each time, you can disguise the breaths really, really well. Anyway, let's listen to this just fade out, and you can just feel yourself like drifting off to sleep. Eric was saying that the Robert Frost poem from his perspective is about death, and I believe the one that Tony wrote is more actually about sleep. Well, let's look at this real quick. Why not? What dreams may come, both dark and deep, of flying wings and soaring leap as I surrender unto sleep. See that sound? Yeah, and where clouds of dream give second sight. So this doesn't sound final. This really sounds like dreaming. And here, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. Yeah, that does have miles to go, but that does have a different kind of finality to it. Read this poem. Read this poem carefully and listen to this song, and then do the same with this other one, because it's a very cool exercise. Okay, this alto is singing. Their mouths are barely moving. Maybe these two are sustaining and stagger breathing. Oh, okay. Wow, there were actual tears in this one. That is a rare sight. But like I said, I don't think there's a more beautiful sound in the world than an impeccable chamber choir blend. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you gained appreciation for this truly, I consider, a masterpiece of choral music. Hope you learned something. If you did, please do consider joining my Patreon. Obviously, go support Voces8 and Eric Whitacre on their channels. Apparently there's collaborative posts on YouTube now, so like maybe that'll be a thing. Very cool, new feature. Anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you to Voces8 and Eric for including me in this project. I hope I can signal boost this beautiful piece. And yeah, basses in Voces8. Let's chat on the podcast. All right, guys. See you next time.